Well, that's telling. So I'm not trying to do this to bore you with the beginning of my comments today. I just think it's really important. This is a copy of The Science of Mind I've never brought into this room because there's, to me, some kind of arrogance to do a leather cover and a gold edge to it to make it look like a Bible. Yet here it is. Here it is. So that I can talk about this teaching from the words of Ernest Holmes. I have two things. The first comes from page 448. It's called The Purpose of the Science of Mind. If you've been in my summer prosperity class ever, our summer prosperity class, you know that I've talked about purpose and how essential that is for us to find our way. Well, Dr. Holmes wrote about it in this book as far as this teaching, this philosophy. And this is what he said. The whole purpose of the science of mind is to reconcile the apparent separation of the spiritual world, which must be perfect, and the material world, which appears imperfect. The spiritual world is the cause of the material world. We are spiritual beings, governed by mental law. Only that world can appear to us which we mentally perceive. Our experience is the logical outcome of our inner vision. Our horizon is limited to the confines of our own consciousness. Wherever this consciousness lacks a true perspective, its outward expression will lack proper harmony. This is why we are taught to be transformed by the renewing of our minds. Holmes says that's why we're here, to learn that. And then, my favorite thing in this book, not that it speaks of principle, but it talks about who we have to be to make this work. And it's called Final Conclusion. It's on page 423. In conclusion, what the world needs is spiritual conviction, followed by spiritual experience. I would rather see a student of this science prove its principle than to have him repeat all the words of wisdom that have ever been uttered. It is far easier to teach the truth than it is to practice it. It is far easier to teach the truth than it is to practice it. But the practice of truth is personal to each. And in the long run, no one can live our life for us. To each is given what he needs, and the gifts of heaven come alike to all. How we shall use these gifts is all that matters. To hold one's thought steadfastly to the construction, to that which endures, and to the truth may not be easy in this rapid changing world, but to the one who makes the attempt, much is guaranteed. The essence of spiritual mind healing and of all true religious philosophy is an inner realization of the presence of perfection within and around us. It is the hope of heaven, the voice of God proclaiming, I am that which thou art. Thou art that which I am. Thank you, Dr. Holmes. So I haven't written a word as to what I would say today. But I have some things to say. Being as this is likely my last time to stand before you, I want to thank you. For those of you that have struggled with us through this crazy world, through this worldwide global pandemic, and kept this place alive, I want to say thank you. You've made the difference in this community surviving. Yes, we have grown into smaller numbers during this time, but so has every other community I know of. We survived, though. We're still here. Many are not. They've gone to the four winds. So why are we here? I believe that we're here because we chose to practice these principles, even when it wasn't clear that they were real, even when there were doubts, even when there was confusion. We kept coming here time and time again to remember who we are. And for most of us, it didn't matter who was standing on this stage. It was that these principles transcend personality. Yes, I know Barbara's the best speaker in the movement. Yes, I wanted to found this community so that I could sit on the front row and listen to her speak. I'm pretty smart, huh? I remember when we were down doing our regular Christmas trip to the Florida Keys, camping and fishing and just kind of hanging out. It was somewhere around midnight. One day, very close to Christmas in 1994. After being in Asheville for 5 years, after being away from any Science of Mind community for about 7 years, out of nowhere, fishing poles, lines hanging down in the water over the No Name Key Bridge, or Bridge to No Name Key, whichever way you want to call it. Barbara looked at me and she said, "Okay, we can do it now." She didn't say what we could do, but I knew. I knew exactly what she meant, because that had been working on her for years. Because there was a point where, even though we believed in these principles, we didn't see how they fit into what had happened. We couldn't fully see all the blessings that had happened to us. And we were kind of finding our way through the desert. And it was okay. We hung out at Unity. It was easy. But she said, "Okay, it's time." And we came home, and on January 15, 1995, we opened our home, put out 30 chairs, and waited to see who showed up. Somebody came to sit in every one of those chairs that day. That was 27 years ago. 27 years, 7 months, 19 days, I think. It was the right thing to do. And what it gives us, and has given us all these years, is an opportunity to live this teaching and to model it for others. Now, have we been perfect in our worldly experience? No, not by a long shot. But in our spiritual beingness, yes, we proclaim our perfection, and we proclaim yours. I would love to see this room filled again, and we're doing pretty good today. We really are, and I'm very grateful to all of you that are here. And I want to remind you why I believe you come here. Yeah, the food's good. And we have friends here that we love dearly. And somehow it seems like our life is a little better when we're around here. And what I believe that is from the fact that we are immersing ourselves in these principles of truth, as expressed originally by Dr. Ernest Holmes, around this idea of being the perfection of life, around being the presence of the divine, about living from that in everything that we do, about staying out of judgment as best we can, and knowing the truth that we are the presence of God right here on planet Earth. And I think it takes constant reminding of that. It certainly has for me. I needed to be here to be reminded. I'm a little concerned about not being in this room every Sunday, for me. Because I do need to be reminded. Yeah, I can get online and do it, but it's nicer to be in the room. And take nothing away from the good folks that are watching us online. God bless you for loving us and supporting us and all that you do. And there's something about being in the room. Some people claim that this traditional idea of gathering on a Sunday morning is dying. It's going away. I don't believe that. I truly believe that we are better when we're together. I think we learn from one another, not just from who's standing here, but from practicing these principles. We got to talk about that with these people that joined the center today, about how the name on your name tag, this thing that you've come to be in life. You get to do that here. It's safe. It's a good place to do it, to practice, to remember, and then to take it out to the rest of our lives. But most of us don't remember it ongoing indefinitely. We get it when we come here. We remember. And maybe it does last more than a week, but boy, it's good to come and get another one before it dissipates out of us. That's one reason Barbara and I never really liked the idea of being the traveling ministers that do workshops and seminars and weekend retreats. Because, yes, we can be impacted by those things, absolutely. But the way that you do this is with a constant purpose toward opening up to who we are and to living in this world with these principles that we can rely on every single day. So we have to keep coming back to remember. So that's what I'm here to ask you to do. This center has been here for you for 27 years. Some of you have found it recently. Some of you were part of it when we were out in Fairview in what we called the cornfield. Whatever time you found it, it's become something in your life that you can rely on. Other than when there's some kind of a tremendous snowstorm. This place is open on Sunday. And now, again, thank God, on Monday nights, for you to come and share and learn and be a part of something extraordinary. And as Barbara and I step away, they say that we're a legacy church. Well, that means that you got to keep coming after we leave, or there's no legacy. You have to keep practicing these principles in your life, or there's no legacy. You have to keep financially supporting this place, or there will be no legacy. That doesn't mean the work we've done isn't important and doesn't have value. I believe that it does. But it has to keep going. So yes, for the next few months, it's very likely, although it hasn't been officially confirmed and announced, chances are pretty good you're going to have an interim minister here. And beyond that, we're going to have some kind of rotation of speakers on this stage. Some of them you're going to be dazzled by, and some of them not so much. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Come and get something from all of them that you can use in your life. I've always said being a Science of Mind minister is one of the most challenging jobs in the world because we only have one thing that we teach and we have to make it look different every week. But it's the same thing. God is all there is. You control your destiny with your thoughts. You're creating your experience. That's it. That's what we got. Holmes says that's all we got to sell. Okay, let's sell it. And let's make the world a better place. There are still thousands of people out there in the world that are watching the videos from this center and having their lives get better. There's a check that came from a woman I have never met this week with a note saying how this center carried her through the pandemic, and she just wanted to thank us. It was a generous check. That's why we're here. That's what we do. You'll find this interesting. The person that actually, over the last 2 or 3 years, has been the top supporter, financial support of this center, has never been in this room because her life has been so impacted through watching us online. She met Barbara in Texas, 20 or more years ago, and was so moved by her, she's followed her ever since and made her life go from a very difficult life to an extraordinarily prosperous life. Yeah, this stuff works, folks, but you got to work it, as they say. You've got to be open to making this your commitment to live by these principles and not to fall into that rabbit hole that would take you into a place of despair. It's up to you. I believe in this work. There was a man named Carol. I'm not remembering his last name. Is Elizabeth in the room today? Elizabeth, what's his name?
Thompson.
Thank you. Her mind is so good. Carol Thompson, an older gentleman from the state of Nebraska. Actually ran for mayor of the capital of Nebraska. Lincoln? No, yeah. It was somewhere in Nebraska for sure. He ran for mayor. Smart guy, wonderful guy, lots of energy. Not long before we presented the idea of building on this property, we had a dinner. And, well, actually, let me tell you that Carol had a stroke. And then we announced that we had this piece of property in mind and we're looking at buying it and building. We had no money, as Barbara said on the video earlier, but we were very interested in seeing where our people were on it. So we had a big dinner in our little bitty space out in Fairview, and everybody came. It was wonderful. Carol Thompson came that night. He was using a walker, and he sat in the back. And at some point during the night, as we were expressing this idea of what this could be, we called it casting a dream. He raised his hand, and I said, "Yes, Carol." And he got up as best he could with his walker. And he said, "You're missing the point." What? He said, "You're not doing this for the people that will find you when you move to Asheville. They'll come, and it'll be wonderful. But you're doing this so that 100 years from now, lives will be changed because of what you do today. Lives will be changed. 100 years. Silence in the room. I had never imagined 100 years. I just knew it was time to get out of that little place in Fairview. He cast a vision greater than I had and told us why we were doing this. And I believe that Carol Thompson was right. I believe that we will touch lives 100 years from then. That was 22 years ago, so we're almost a quarter of the way there. But there will be work to be done. There will be spiritual leadership to be filled and presented and the guidance that this group needs. There will be new practitioners that will find their way into the core of this center's practitioner core, which is the best I've ever known. And this center will go on and do its good work. But remember, the building is not the center. The building is our facilities, and we love it, and we use it, and we're grateful for it, but you are the center. So keep this place alive within you and for everyone else that is seeking to find a place where they can hear the truth and live that better life that they know is out there. This is where we can do that work. So Barbara and I will be back on September 4th, but we won't be speaking that day. We're going to sit up here and let you speak to us and to tell us what it is that we've done that made a difference in your life. And then we'll be gone. And I don't know if or when we'll be back. I know we live right over there, but it doesn't matter. This is how it works for the betterment of the community. We have strong leaders. And we're going to have to rely on them, but not only them, you, each of you, to be a part of this, to do the work that needs to be done to hold this place together and to support it financially. And if you will do that, then Barb and I will have a legacy. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you for saying yes. Well, I asked Barbara earlier in the week, I said, what should I say on Sunday? She said, tell them how great life is. Life is great if you make it so. And so it is. Thank you.